So a very warm welcome to you all here today. My name is Angela Forbes, the Chief Exec of BuildForce, and I'm delighted to welcome you to London. So we're here in the London Stadium, home of the Olympic Park. So very happy memories for lots of people in industry here today, for those that worked on the project. So thank you to VINCI, our sponsor, for that. And thank you for attending, especially those that have travelled from further afield. And for those of you that came to our project day yesterday. So Balfour Beatty VINCI Sistra hosted us on the HS2 project at Old Oak Common yesterday. And thank you to Thomas and Elliot in the room for that event. It was a fantastic event. We all got an awful lot from that. Now today is the BuildForce Nationwide Insight Day. Now BuildForce was set up as a construction industry programme to help you through your resettlement into the professional and trade careers within the construction industry and the wider built environment. We are a career service to you as you go through your resettlement. Now, BuildForce are big enough to care, big enough to cope, and small enough to care, so we will be by your side as you are going through your resettlement. Our industry needs your skills, we need your talent, and we need it now, and we will continue to need it. We are a sector both traditional in our values, but innovative in our outlook. So it's important for us that we have the diversity and the talent that you bring. Now, your peers and colleagues before you have already walked this path, and they are flourishing in the industry. They are doing very well. So our employers return year after year to recruit more of you, and that's because it's a good business decision. Okay, you are very talented, you just don't know how much. So respectfully, we do know that you are going through a life-changing experience at the moment, and you may fear that there could be an armed forces-shaped hole in your life. And we just want to give you the reassurance and plant a seed to ensure that today, from our speakers and from your engagement with our employers, that you're going to be just fine. So Bernie, our psychologist, who's at the back of the room, is here for anybody who wants to chat. So he will be in the back right-hand corner of the main room for anybody who wants to speak to him. And this environment is where brotherhood and sisterhood matters. It's where collaboration and teamwork actually get things built. And it's really important on the quality of the person because you can make a difference. So there are striking parallels between our two worlds, and that's why we're confident that you're going to be able to transition into construction just fine. Now, after lunch, the Right Honourable Dr. Andrew Morrison, MP, Minister for Defence, People and Families, is going to join us. So many of you will get the opportunity to meet him as he makes his way around the room. Now, for the next hour, you are going to hear from Colonel Dr. Gary Sullivan, OBE VR, so Commander of the Staff Corps, Chairman of Wilson James, but his most accomplished role is Director of BuildForce. So a good friend and a mentor to me. So thank you very much, Gary, for coming along today, and we look forward to hearing what you've got, the advice you've got to give us. You're also going to hear from our much-loved Caroline Logan, our Programme Director, who will talk you through how to successfully navigate your way through the day. So she will give you as much information as you need to make sure this is a success. And I think the phrase and term that you use is time spent on recce is seldom wasted. So we want to make sure that you engage with every employer in the room and you get from today exactly what you need. 80 jobs were secured at our event in London previously. We want to smash that record today, so we want to make this a success for you. We'll hear from our success story, Josh Pike, so Site Works Manager with VINCI Facilities, and he's going to share his transition and give you lots of great advice. A fantastic speaker, so we're delighted he's here. But firstly, we're here with VINCI, and before you hear how much of the UK they have built, and their trajectory and growth, very impressive growth, the growth of their group, I would like to thank Stuart Grout, Chris Morley and Sarah Turnock for their tireless efforts to make today happen. And to their credit, their drive on diversity. So in the room today, we've got 18% of our candidates are female, so that's above the MOD 11%. And 33% of our employers are also female today. So VINCI extended an invite to families and children, and that really is raising the bar when it comes to inclusion. And if ever a service leaver should be curious of a company's culture, this is excellence at its best, and we know that comes from the top grant, so thank you very much for promoting and supporting that. And it makes this event very special as well. So if I could invite our first speaker, Grant Crystal, Regional Director of VINCI Facilities, our sponsor, to formally open our panel and the event today.
So, firstly, just to reiterate the thanks to everybody for making the effort to come today and come to this iconic stadium, the London Stadium and the former Olympic Stadium as well. If I don't get the opportunity later, I just wanted to thank all the people again involved on behalf of VINCI to BuildForce and the VINCI team themselves for all the effort they've put into the day. So, thank you everybody who's involved. Too many to name. I'm going to split this little session into three areas. The first, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history of this stadium and VINCI's involvement in this stadium over a number of years. And the operations director responsible for the stadium, I think, is probably in the back of the room somewhere. So if I get anything wrong, Kieran, you can castigate me later. But I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into our journey with the London Stadium. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about VINCI, the organisation, and from the top level in terms of VINCI SA, and then how that translates down into the defence projects we have, and also the other parts of the VINCI business that we have in the room with us today. And then I was asked to give a little bit of a sort of a personal journey in terms of FM. So I'm going to give you if you can stay awake that long, I'm going to talk you through my career within FM and how we get to the place we are today in terms of myself personally as the region director for defence. So that's the sort of agenda. Our first involvement as VINCI in this area, this park, was with the Olympic Development Authority in 2009. So when the stadium and all the other facilities within the park were being built, we secured the FM contract for the ODA to provide all their facilities for all their offices. And that included the stadium, the aquatic centre, the velodrome, and everything else that's in this park. We had a really interesting journey throughout the whole of that period up to the games themselves. And we actually had a role right through the Olympic Games through 2012, and it was the most fascinating time. And the reason I mention all this is FM is a really interesting sort of sector to work in. Most people sort of stumble into FM. They don't sort of pick it as a career as a young person, but when we get to understand the number of people that are employed in FM, it is truly significant. After the Olympics, this building we're in now, this stadium, was essentially a concrete shell. It had no services. None of these rooms you're in today were here. It was a concrete shell, because all the services and all the catering and hospitality were provided outside the stadium itself. So everything you see here now and where you are, it's all a retrofit essentially. And that was I think a circa £300 million retrofit. And we were part of the sort of testing and commissioning of that, because we secured the FM contract to deliver services to this stadium post its rebuild. And then LS185 was formed. And LS185 stands for London Stadium 185. Anybody want to hazard a guess where the 185 comes from? Where the number 185 comes from? No one? 185 was the number of medals that the British team and para team won in the 2012 games. VINCI at that time actually ran the concession contract for the stadium as well, so we also ran all the events as well as the services and maintenance. The unfortunate thing is now there's been a few medals retracted due to drug problems, so the 185 is no longer a valid number, I'm afraid. Anyway, during the rebuild of the stadium, which took a number of years, we also hosted the 3 games, I think it was, from the Rugby World Cup, the 2015 Rugby World Cup here. So you can imagine we had a stadium full of people while the actual stadium was being rebuilt, so an extremely difficult time. But then we had our first concert. So if you can imagine, I don't know if any have been here, so AC/DC were the first concert we had. I don't think that's a picture of AC/DC, but that is a picture of what the stadium looks like when we have a concert here. So, what I'm putting across here is the sort of really challenging and different types of services we provide. Providing a stadium for a football team, a rugby team and their supporters is a lot different from Angus Young and whoever else is in AC/DC. Then came the first West Ham football game. So West Ham were obviously secured the rights to the football at the stadium. The first game was against Juventus, which was a Wednesday evening game, I recall, and we had a full house. And I actually, because I was looking after the maintenance team on one level, I had the privilege of turning the floodlights on for that evening game. And I had visions of a great big sort of, switch that I could pull to turn the lights on, of course, because I'm getting of that age. When in fact I stood on the pitch with an iPad pressing a button and all the lights came on. So very, very different in terms of what we do these days and how we maintain and manage systems. Then, what was a very challenging time, we actually hosted the 2017 World Athletics Championships here, and that was the sort of first major event that VINCI had actually undertaken and ran, so it's a really interesting time leading up to it. We had 2 weeks of the event itself and then a week's break, and then we had 2 weeks of para games, which were fantastic. The people in this room, I actually had a chat with Usain Bolt in this very room during that period. Very, very interesting. We had 2.5 million people come through the turnstiles in this stadium during that year. I'm sorry, the latest event that the team here are hosting is Major League Baseball. And they've got another game coming up this summer, and so that's another dynamic that you have to introduce into a stadium of this kind. Each of one takes different seating configurations and an awful lot of planning, preparation. We do the maintenance, we do the cleaning, we support the security team, support the catering team, and do an awful lot in the stadium itself. Kieran, I hope I got most of that right. I hope there's nothing too wrong there. So a little bit about VINCI. So VINCI is an organisation, a very, very significant, big organisation. You can see we've got revenues in circa 60 billion euros. We employ over 270,000 people, 280,000 work sites throughout the world in 120 countries. And I'm just going to pare that down into what we do in the UK, obviously, because VINCI are a worldwide organisation and are very significant, one of the biggest construction companies and concessions companies in the world. The reason I say construction concessions is there's 2 essential strings to what we do. One is concessions, so anybody who's used an airport in Portugal or Gatwick or recently newly purchased Edinburgh, we hold controlling interest in all those airports and we run those. And also all the peage, you're on a holiday in France and you're paying your peage, your toll, that's all VINCI as well, not that we get a discount. But the reason it's interesting is because we build, we finance, and then over maybe a 30, 40 year period, then we sort of recoup the finance. It's like a PFI, but not quite as legally difficult. But that's how the concessions business works. And then the other part of the business, significant part of the business, is construction. So we do an awful lot of construction throughout the world. All major projects that we have an interest in. HS2, for example, in the UK is certainly a major project. You can't see it here. Obviously, it's too small for you all to see, but I just wanted to talk you very briefly through the delegations within the UK. So we sit in the construction business within the wider VINCI. We have VINCI Building, which does work up to circa, well, maybe probably between 10 and 100 million by way of an example. And again, if our building colleagues might put you right on that or put me right later on that. But that's their sort of sweet spot in terms of the size of the projects they undertake. You've got us VINCI Facilities in the second box there, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. Taylor Woodry would do civil engineering type work, so the big projects and big TfL type projects and that type of thing. Then you've got Eurovia. Now Eurovia provide asphalt and bitumen and that type of thing for not only the VINCI business, but a much wider group of businesses. So if you're having a road repaired locally to you, the chances are it's come from a Eurovia batching plant. And then Ringway, another string to our bow. Ringway undertake, again, sort of term and maintenance contracts with county councils and such like. maintaining roadways and highways, lighting, and don't blame them for the potholes because they're the people who put it right, not the people who make the decisions. And then going down into defence, so I'll just talk a little bit about defence. Defence is in terms of the contracts that we look after in my part of the business. We have core, which is planned maintenance. In our business, that's worth circa 90 to 95 million pounds per annum. We have a construction team who do all construction work on the built estate within defence, another circa 100 million pounds per annum. Then we've got a specialism where we undertake work to sensitive sites, so high security, minimum DB clearance sites. We have a separate project team who look after that type of work, and very specialised, and we have a vehicle that does that. And we're just about to take on the former, or the volunteer estate, the Rifka estate, as you may know it, in the very near future, towards the end of this year. What does that look like in numbers? We've done some asset management. This is what we do within that project, within those 4 business units. We do asset management, we do billable and planned works. We have a big help desk based down at Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. Our help desk takes 150,000 calls, 115,000 calls and emails per annum, which is, I think it's somebody told me it's between 450 and 500 a day. So that's the number of sort of works we're dealing with. We got 90,000 reactive tasks. We've just employed, within our structure, we've got 3 regions. In our west region, we've just taken all the employees into a direct delivery, and that's a bit of a move away from what's been traditionally serviced within this sort of the built estate within the MOD. It's all been subcontracted. We've taken a whole region in-house and we're going to deliver that in-house, which provides a lot more opportunities from directly employed in the VINCI business for trades and supervision and management. And I mentioned the sensitive sites and volunteer estate. Right, just going on a little bit about my good self and what we do. That people will recognise the mild there, and we had a really challenging time in our first 18 months on the contract. So we secured the contract about 2 years ago. Within those first 2 years, well, within months of it starting, we had the Platinum Jubilee, which was a wonderful celebration for everybody, and certainly everybody in the military community. I appreciate it. But then, unfortunately, very soon thereafter, we had Operation London Bridge, which was, as we all know, was the sad loss of our much-loved Queen, but the amount of work that goes on in the background, especially in London where we work, in terms of organising the ceremonials that go. I mean, anybody who's been involved in it, I'm sure many of you have. You'll understand what goes on in the background to make those things happen. And then very soon thereafter, obviously, we had Operation Golden Orb, which was the coronation, which was the most recent. But every one of those events takes an awful lot of management, planning, activities before and after. So just a flavour of what we do other than maintain boilers. So just very briefly, just about myself, a couple of pictures, top left-hand corner, my first job with what was then Taylor Woodrow, Heysham Nuclear Power Station back in, believe it or not, 1982. So it gives you a flavour of some of the people within our organisation stay for a long time. Second picture is Canary Wharf. And I'd like to say I was involved in the construction of the HSB Tower and all that, but I wasn't. I was looking after the piling contracts on one of the docks. All the enabling works that actually allowed those sort of construction activities to happen. Then I transferred down to the Channel Tunnel, and I spent 9 years, firstly working on the construction of the Channel Tunnel, but then also working on the defect liability period beyond the actual construction phase. Then my first venture into the military environment, I was a commercial lead on what was then the East London, which included Woolwich Barracks, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital at the time, Royal Artillery, Royal Naval College Greenwich. A fantastic job, but unfortunately most of that got split up in the change. Then I moved on in the middle to RAC, and then beyond that, an RAC contract across the country, then looked after a Texaco, so that's Texaco filling stations in the Benelux and the UK, so 2,000 filling stations for that particular client. And we had an office in Antwerp and an office in Manchester, which was great because I lived in Kent. But there you go. Then London Underground. I did a lot of work for London Underground in my career, and then we came over to the stadium, and I spent sort of, I wasn't based here, but I had a team working here doing all the events I mentioned before. And then I moved on to managing a relationship with the Crown Commercial Services, who brought us into the defence environment again and working in the built estate as we do today. The reason I put all that up there is just to emphasise the breadth of the opportunities within the FM space. It isn't just about a building in London and maintaining boilers and cleaning teams and that sort of thing. There's an awful lot of scope within FM for people to get their teeth into. I was very lucky. I was a trainee cost clerk in the commercial department, a lackey basically, making tea and such like. But somebody saw something in me, they put me on a graduate programme, and I ended up where I am today. So the opportunities, and I don't mean in VINCI, all the industry partners, all the employers that you see out there in the other room today, we have so much in common. You know, there could be any one of those organisations stood in front of you today telling very similar stories. So lastly, just a little bit what you can bring to us. From the testimonials you'll hear, we have some other people. We have Karen. Karen here is another one of our site works managers. Karen, you'll stand up. She's a former warrant officer in RSC who joined us in July, I think, Karen, wasn't it?
Yes, July.
So another example, Josh is going to speak in a minute. So what we're trying to say here, it doesn't actually take that long to adapt. Some people might have a little concern about the change. Please speak to as many people as you can in the room. As I say, not just the VINCI people. I'm really pleased to see so many people here. It's most important about what you can bring to us. You have so many transferable skills that we can take advantage of at the end of the day, and it'll benefit us and it'll benefit you. How should I say? Yeah, reliability, punctuality, straight talking. You know, we live in a different world these days to when I started work, but we often find that our ex-service personnel come with behaviours and skills that really do support what we hold as values and behaviours within our business. And the last thing, and probably most important thing for us in terms of employing the likes of you guys, is that you understand what it's like. You know, there is no bottomless pit of money in the defence estate for us to provide all the services we'd like to, but you understand what it feels like on the other side of that service. And we do our utmost to try and, you know, deliver the best lived experience we can for our service personnel that we look after on our sites. And you, in joining any of the organisations that are out there today, would have a big part in that for us, but also lots of other work opportunities from the other industry partners out there. Okay, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
The best career advice I've ever been given. I should have prepared this question, shouldn't I? When I was very young and starting out in industry, the construction industry was very different in the 1980s. And I moved away from home very quickly, you know, and I remember talking to the general foreman on the site I was working on, and he said, just go to work on time, mate, do your job, have a beer at the end of the day with us, and then you'll do okay. That seems very glib, but you know, at the end of the day, you just do. Today we find an awful lot of people who join our business who come from a different environment and a different type of upbringing. You know, we find it difficult to keep them engaged and employed. And churn is a big problem for the industry, I think, and for employers generally.
And just on that change, and I think you referenced it as different in the maintenance and management systems at the moment. So what new skills are you looking for?
So the world is a very different place again. So new skills, but we need everything. Certainly in services and facilities, there is no substitute for labour and manpower, or manpower, sorry. There's very much a We have a lot of people in ICT and data and the digital space who support the tools that we need to deliver services. But at the end of the day, if you're going to service a boiler, there's no robot on earth that can service a boiler in a barrack block. So we rely on labour and we rely on good trades, good supervision, good management, good health and safety practice in order to do our jobs properly.
And we've got quite a few senior ranks in the room, so to those, what qualities are you looking for in a senior leadership team within a company like VINCI?
So again, because of the breadth of the work that we do, we have employed people from all ranks, as I mentioned before, from trades right through to management. Some of the skills of leadership, man management that the senior people bring into the company is very, very advantageous, and we learn a lot. And we learn a lot from their experience and bring it in. And certainly I have in the last 2 years working with a number of the people who've come into our organisation.
Okay, and a question for Karen or for Stuart. So I know you're veterans, recently kind of new into VINCI. Any advice you would give a candidate that's about to apply for a job, navigate their way through the interview?
Just not to be scared at all. People dread leaving the services after so long, but really it isn't that hard. And for myself working in VINCI, they took me under their wing. And yeah, I don't regret it at all. It's been a smooth process. Please come and ask me anything else if you need to. But yeah, it's not a challenge.
Thank you for that, Karen, and thank you, Grant, as well. So we're going to pass to our next speaker, Gary Sullivan.
Thanks, Angela. So let me just situate myself after Angela bigging me up as she did. My first adventure in the military, I left as a lance corporal in VINCI. Second career as an army reservist has perhaps been slightly different, but the reason for explaining that is that it doesn't matter what rank you are, what task or trades you have, there is a place for you in the construction and the built environment. Somebody reminded me recently of when I first made a presentation for BuildForce, way back before the pandemic. And for those of you that ever served on a Herrick, you'll probably get this perhaps more than those of you that haven't, but I was arriving at T5 one morning, and as I arrived at T5, as it was being built at that time, as I arrived at T5, there were lots of cranes and lots of red lights, lots of masts, there was lots of plant moving around, it was kicking up dust, the sun was just breaking, it was quite early in the morning, the sun was just coming up. And there were lots of people wearing what I call workwear uniforms, so whether it was high-vis, PPE hats, boots, gloves, goggles, the whole lot. Reminded me very much of being in Camp Bastion at first thing in the morning or last thing at night, as everything was coming to life. And going into the cookhouse, into the DFAC, was again very similar. Lots of groups of people sat around, comrades, friends, colleagues, all sat around working together. And so it feels very similar sometimes in construction to a world in the services, because there is a camaraderie, there is still room for appropriate kind of banter, if you like, if you want to use that phrase. We do all live in a modern world where the things that might have been said in the 70s and 80s clearly are not appropriate anymore, but there is still the opportunity to have that camaraderie around the team. But how do I describe construction to those of you that have never done it? And particularly for those of you, which I'm going to guess is most of you that are not sappers, because everyone thinks construction is just for sappers, but it really isn't. So what we do, and it's the same here, and this is coming home for me because I worked on the Olympics, my business worked on the Olympics. What we do is like here, Stratford was not a very nice place. You know, it was a little bit run down, to put it rather mildly. The Watery Lane and Carpenter's Lane that ran right through here. You during daylight you might have driven through at a reasonable speed. At night time you would have had your doors locked, your windows up, and you would have not stopped for anybody. It was a little bit iffy. It's a much better place now, I have to say. So what do? We turn up in somebody's backyard, and generally they don't want us there. We set about trying to make things better. We have a plan, it's always good, We have a plan, like your world, that plan never survives first contact with the enemy. The enemy in this case is usually the planners and sometimes the local community. It's quite hard to make things better for people in communities sometimes because there's a camaraderie for them in their community, and when you come in and you try and change the dynamic, there's a lot of fear about change. And so you have to reassure people, a lot of hearts and minds, influence and all the CIMIC stuff that you will all know about. So we come in, we start to make a difference. We take down whatever was there, we replace it with something better. That involves people with boots on the ground, with bits of kit that will feel familiar to you. You see whether you use them or you're just around the people. So if you can change the blade on an angle grinder, it's just the same as cleaning your personal weapon. It's the same kind of skill set. But equally, whilst there are trades with all the workwear and uniform that I mentioned, there's also your assistant project managers, your subalterns. There are SO2s as project managers running around the place, and then there are SO4, SO5, or OF4, OF5 people that are there as the project directors. So we have a hierarchy in construction as well. It's not so formal. We don't call anybody sir or mum. It's a lot more relaxed. Open plan offices. You tend to walk in. You won't necessarily know who's in charge because they'll be sat amongst the crew. But it will feel very, very familiar to you. We do all of that. We make it better. And we do it in the pouring down of rain, we do it in the extreme sunshine, if we ever get extreme sunshine in the UK, but elsewhere, those companies that work internationally, probably more sunshine, whether you're building Dubai or Qatar or Saudi or again, lots of opportunities in that environment for people in this industry. And then 6 months after you've left, and everything's better, everybody forgot you were ever there. No one ever recognises all the things that you did, they've moved on. But there is a good thing because you can pull up that sandbag, you can swing that lamp because when you walk around town, and my business works predominantly in London. We have projects elsewhere as well, but predominantly inside the M25. But I can bore the Watsits off my kids for going, yeah, we did that one, yeah, and that was on mine as well, yeah. Oh, that one over there, yeah, I built that single-handedly. But I'm not a builder. I was an infanteer. I left school with no qualifications. I started a business in 1991, seems to have gone okay so far. And we've been involved, and we are currently involved with some of the biggest projects around. I'm a customer of VINCI, I pay their extortionate tolls on the péage if I'm driving in France, but I'm also, they are my customer. So I work at Gatwick, I work at don't work at Edinburgh yet. I'll have to talk to you about that one afterwards. But we work at Belfast International and a few other places. So you find that it's for a big industry. It's quite a small world. That you bump into people again and again and again. And Angela and I have known each other way too long because you must have been a child when I first met you. But seriously, it has a lot to offer for it. It is frustrating. Again, all the frustrations that you'll feel in service life. We do an awful lot of planning. That planning changes because there are outside influences, there's politics, there's commercials. I'll come back to commercials perhaps at just the end. So there's a lot to enjoy about that. But we also have administrators, we have logisticians, and we'll talk about logistics in the construction industry. We're talking about combat service support, the wider G4, more than just G4. But we're also talking about enablement and sustainment, words that we don't use in city life, but words that are very familiar to all of you guys. You cannot build this without people providing the tools, the kit, the equipment, the manpower, the bacon butties, the brews, all of it. You need some very good engineers, you need some great designers, you need people to be able to program, do all that program management, and pull all of that together and spin plates. So if I to answer the question you asked about what skills would your ability to spin plates is the talent I would say that you have probably that is most interesting. That along with the fact that in your careers they would be incredibly varied because you'll be posted quite frequently, you'll be doing different ops, different exercises, and that you bring all of that to us You bring all of that to us, and nothing should hold you back from whatever trade, whatever cap badge, whatever service you belong to. There is nothing that will hold you back from succeeding in this world. It really, all you need is a bit of energy, a bit of gumption, and the brains that you all have, because you've all been using them for years and years and years, and you'll fit into this world. Different jargon, new acronyms to learn, but again, that's not particularly scary. If I threw a whole load of military acronyms at you now, probably only half the room would know what they were, because you change them quite frequently. But we have all of the things that you have, just slightly different, slightly more relaxed in some ways, but there is pressure in a good way. There is challenge to actually get something like this finished to a deadline, to a budget, is very, very rewarding. And we're very people-centric. Yes, we have got technology, but we're still very, very people-centric in terms of how we make everything happen. So again, you'll find quite a lot of familiarity. In our business, I would say that if there is one area that you need to hone up on, whether you're one star or whether you're a Lance Jack, it doesn't matter. The one thing that military people don't have enough of is commerciality. And by that I mean nous. I don't mean running a notional budget on the spreadsheet that, particularly if you're an OF5, you've got your SO2 to fill in for you, right? But I do mean that you've got to understand the nous. As a business person, I speak to you now, making money is not difficult, right? Not losing money is incredibly difficult. So while you're out there, doing all the good, great stuff up front, it's disappearing out the back door at a rate of knots because of inefficiency and bad practice and all the things that you can't see. It actually happens in your world quite a lot, but you probably don't have quite the same visibility. And it's not life and death in that sense to you because it's money. But for us, if we don't make money, we don't survive. It's as really simple as that. So profit and loss and commerciality are perhaps the one thing I would advise everybody to just have a little hone up. That commercial nous. Angela was the enemy for a long time. She was a commercial director in a major infrastructure company, and I was a subcontractor. So we were forever sparring and boxing around, how much she was going to pay me, how much I would ask for, and so, but it's all done mostly in a collegiate way. Occasionally, yeah, depends. But again, that's the one area I think that perhaps you will have all negotiated. In your lives at some point or another. Those of you married, particularly the men in the room, you've negotiated loads and loads and loads of times with your spouses, for sure. But without any doubt whatsoever, that's the one thing that you need to start thinking about. The other advice I would give you is, particularly for the more senior people in the audience, is that don't be hung up about your rank, and you need to prove yourself. When you come into our industry, there is a little bit of time, it might be 3 months, it might be 3 weeks, but because they don't know you, and because you've not been in the industry, and because they can't ring up somebody they know and say, yeah, I've got Jane here, and she said she worked on your project, what was she like? We can't do that. Well, actually I can, but other employers can't do that. So you do, there's a little bit of proving yourself. It's not going all guns blazing, but it's just let them see the authentic you. Don't be afraid. The authentic you in what you do in your service and the way that you do it is not that dissimilar. It's really, really, really familiar to you, and it's just about delivery. All we want from everybody that works for us is people to come into work and deliver for us, and then we create opportunity, and then we start to see you shine. And I've got former fall screws and that are directors in my business. Equally, I've got senior officers. So at the moment, he's not in the room, but I can say at the moment that I've got a former SO2 who's running a huge project for us, who is now the boss to a 3-star general. Yeah. So we're not hung up about that. It's about your skill set and your ability. All of you in this room, I guarantee, all of you in this room have more opportunity to find really, really great employment than a 3-star general, or 3-star admiral, or a 3-star air person. No idea what they call it in the RF these days. aviator, somebody said the other day, but most of them don't fly, so I'm not sure. I always thought aviators with sunglasses anyway. But anyway, so seriously though, it is incredibly rewarding. It is fantastic, and trying to find your niche will be a lot less difficult than you think. Whether you want to be on site with trades and you want all the moving parts to be there and have that camaraderie, or you want to be there as part of the planning team or administration team, bringing all of that together, and ultimately we will develop, any employee worth his salt will encourage you and help you and support you to develop those commercial skills that are probably not right at the forefront of your skill set. We understand that, and we're absolutely willing to lean in and try and educate you and teach you about our world. We do it differently. We don't send people off on long courses. There's no ICSC, no HCSC, there's no Shrivenham to worry about. We don't do that. We do have people that go off and do degrees or master's degrees or some other type of extended courses. We do a lot of skill training for those that do want to be on site, whether you're driving plant or we're heavily regulated. I would say the one thing that you probably you might be slightly sceptical about and cautious about is health and safety, because everyone thinks health and safety is some person coming around with a clipboard marking your homework. It's not like that. We just want you to go home to your families in a safe way. So we talk now about health and well-being, and safety is wrapped into that. So we don't want anyone injured, but we also want you eating healthy. We want you, working reasonable hours. We don't want you tired. There's a huge push now to make employment in civilian life a really nice place to be, and for you to enjoy that time. And that's right the way through our industry. I can't promise you everyone you meet will be the perfect individual. We have flawed individuals, just the same way that the services do. But the drive for everybody is to enjoy creation of something, whether it's a railway line like HS2, whether it's Hinkley Point C, new nuclear, loads of opportunities in that space, the new nuclear. Happy to talk to anyone about that afterwards if you want to come and speak to me. But equally, if you want to be a house builder, there's a huge amount of opportunity there. And likewise for our colleagues in facilities management, there's a big estate called Broadgate, which is at the back of Liverpool Street Station. If any of you are going back via the Stratford line, it's a huge series of very tall buildings and restaurants and bars and open areas. That has 500 of my people there, not all at the same time, but on a shift pattern, running a whole range of facilities for a company called Broadgate Estates, part of the British Land team. And the guy that runs that is a major from Powerage. So again, those are adaptable skills to his strong point. Who would have thought his strong point is customer service? Yeah, and he hasn't eaten his crowns yet either. So I can say that as a former parachute. But these days I'm a sapper for a little bit longer. I'm nearly at the end of my time, but I'm a reservist as a sapper. But actually, by passion, and this is kind of a bit weird thing to be passionate about logistics, because it's not one of those things that people think you should be passionate about. Nothing happens, whether in the military or civil life, at your local Starbucks or your McDonald's. Nothing happens without logistics, without enablement. All that enablement and sustainment is absolutely part of everything we do. So I'm going to finish there. Please come and see me afterwards. I'll tell you more about how it works if you wish, or point you in the right direction, not just for my organisation, but for those organisations that we work with and work for. I'm happy to tell you the good, the bad and the ugly about all of those. But please embrace this industry. It is truly fantastic, and you will find it a really, really rewarding as a second career. Thank you.
Question, just on the theme of advice. Any bad habits you're seeing at the moment with this generation of service leavers? Anything you'd like to say about?
No, none at all. In fact, I think probably at the moment, the service leavers of today are probably the most desirable they've ever been. I first joined the army in 1979. And life was a bit different then. It was a bit blunter, a bit more physical. You were voluntold quite forcefully back in the day, But the military I know today, they have those softer skills. They understand. There always used to be this thing that you have to ask civvies, whereas in the military everyone used to think that you told soldiers what to do. The modern military is not like that these days. They have evolved and adapted to the 21st century, much the same as civil life. So no, I think that we have almost to the service's detriment, because there are a lot of, as we all know in the press, a lot of service leavers at the moment. That's to our benefit. But they're awesome employees, absolutely awesome.
Okay, I'm sure there's going to be a queue of people that want to speak to Gary. Any kicks and any kickback on any retort on the rank comment made by Gary?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to move on to Caroline Logan, our Programme Director.
Thank you. So, good morning everyone. It's such a treat to see so many of you here today. It really is. So, my brief today was to keep it punchy. I'm going to try my very best, all right? But first off, I will put my glasses on so I can see what I'm reading. I always forget those. Let's start with an overview of BuildForce, okay? So BuildForce is a collaborative, industry-led construction program supporting you, our military community, as you transition into long-term careers in the built environment through our 5-star offering, which includes our industry and employment program with over 800 mentors, our work placements, our monthly virtual career chats, our national insight days such as today, career coaching, CV guidance, interview prep, and our fantastic UK-wide alliance of employers and opportunities, some of whom are here today. Our training program, where our bespoke online learning modules were created by the University College of Estate Management. Our mental health and suicide prevention programme, led by Bernie Graham, and includes our virtual monthly transition wellbeing seminars. Our sports and wellbeing programme, where we've supported many sporting activities over the years, including marathons, half marathons, our Army Intercorps boxing event, our annual Armed Forces Day 15-mile walk. On the 29th of June, we need volunteers. It's a fantastic walk and talk on the end of the pub, so it's great. And then last year was our rugby match, where we saw, unfortunately, our veterans being smashed by construction. But don't worry, there's a chance to bring it back, because we're going to have a rematch this autumn, so let me know if you're interested. There's also a discussion of a football match at Sheffield's Wednesday. Thank you, that's the one. You can tell me the football. So there's lots going on, so please do let us know if you're interested. And finally, number 5, our aftercare programme. As we appreciate your transition doesn't always stop at securing employment. And so we are always here to support you as required and be that external sounding board. So we are a candidate-led programme. With almost an all-female team, we decided to have a little bit of diversity and we let Bernie on board. But no, seriously, we do lead by the heart, whether it be a little cuddle or a kick up the backside where needed. We really are here for you every step of the way. We have Angela here, our industry guru, providing your career planning, your CV support, your interview coaching, and everything else between. Our military spouse, Kathleen, the owl in the room somewhere, they're all over there, who leads on our candidates with the support of our amazing Randa and our newest addition, Jessica. Nearly forgot your name, Jessica. And they are there to connect you to that mentor, that work placement, job opportunities, any further support required. And our lovely Alex over there, she's your first point of contact and she'll take you through the programme, your next steps and what to expect, and also heads up our very important aftercare programme. And then we have our wonderful Bernie. Everyone needs a Bernie in their lives, they really do. He heads up our mental health programme. And of course, I am always here to further support and advise. So you are all in very safe hands with the BuildForce team. We will be here.
Sorry, you need to stop going towards the speaker.
Go this way. I like to pace, but I was told not to pace, so that's why I'm going to pace. So we will be here for you the whole day to guide, advise and signpost you whatever you need. We are here so you're in very safe hands. Now, on to my favourite bit. where we shine the light on our previous candidates and maybe embarrass them just a tad, but we're going to do it anyway. So we have with us today our previous candidates who are on the other side as employers. So John Martin, if John Martin is in the room, please stand up. We're going to start with you. Only this time last year at our Insight Day in London, he was sitting exactly where you are now. Well, not exactly because he was at Mace headquarters, but he was a service leaver. And today he is with Amy as their operational safety advisor. We also have, we do shout out your names, boys and girls, please do stand up. We also have Jack Smith, operations manager, and Lee Wood, senior project manager also for Amy, and they're going to be here today for you as mentors. We have old-timer, and I can see him, sorry Darren, over there, and steadfast Darren Jury, senior project manager for Atkins Realis, who also supported and mentored Dan Tranter, are you over there Dan?
Yep. And
brought him into the business as an M&E QS. Richie Taylor, is Richie in the room? Richie Taylor is our People Capability Manager for AWE. They will all be on their stands when you go out there anyway. Marcus Clark, come on Marcus, stand up. And Andy Bellinghall, come on, stand up. Marcus Clark, Logistics Manager, and Andy Bellinghall, Consents Manager for HS2 BBV. Thanks boys. They're here today as your mentors. Chris O'Malley, is Chris O'Malley in the room? Another HS2 joint venture, there's Chris, HS2 EKFB. And the amazing, and I can see she's in here, big heart to Megan Porter. Stand up, Megan. Pivotal to so much of our recent Kia employment, the recruitment diversity manager for Kia. And joining her today, stand up, come on all of you, Robert Heath, customer care manager, who secured his role with our own, very own, everyone needs one, force of nature, Alison Rees, stand up Alison, Kia Supply Chain Development Management, and they're all here today to support you. Not finished, I am going to keep going. And then we have also Stuart Cook, where's Stuart Cook, PM for London Energy. Rob Hale, Rob, if you're in the room, it'd be lovely to see you. We've supported Rob twice and he's now Senior Project Manager for Mace. And what is so lovely about Rob is he gives so much of his time back mentoring our candidates, and he's here for you today. Phil Cook, PM for Jacobs, not sure if he's here yet, but we'll be joining Laura on the stand. Lewis Motley, do we have a Lewis Motley from Reds 10 in the room, PM? And we also have Jack Chapman, PM for Town and Townsend, who again, this time last year was sat where you are now. And bumped into him this morning, never met him, but I met him last year at the Insight Day. Ernest Opping, are you here? Wonderful, thank you Ernest, with our hosts as a digital engineer. And finally, but of course never least, we have Nick Channer. Are you in the room, Nick Channer? Oh, love it when they stand up. Do as they're told, love it. Chief of Staff for Wilson James. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, a fantastic lineup of military magic, and they're all here today to support you. They know how it feels to be on the other side where you're sat right now, so you're in very safe hands. They're here to help you. Along with our veteran employers in the room, they've all been in your shoes and they're here ready to inspire you. No pressure, guys. Share their experiences, top tips, the do's, the don'ts. They get how you're feeling today, so please, no need to be shy. So what would I suggest you do to get the most out of today? Well, talk to everyone. Ask lots of questions. Get a better understanding of each organisation. What do they do? What are they looking for? What's their ethos, their culture? Very important. And does it fit with what you're looking for? Where do your skill sets fit? Maybe they don't. So you move on to the next organisation. But there is so much choice for you here today, so it's fantastic. We also, if you would like some CV support, VINCI are very kindly offering that, so please go over to their stand and they'll be here to support you through the day. We also have some of our fantastic ambassadors and mentors in the room. They've all got different colour-coded badges. Maybe some of them will stand up. Come on, boys, stand up. Maybe they won't. But they're here. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Everyone here. So they are here to support you, to share their journeys with you, help you feel at ease and make sure you're getting as much out of the day as possible. So please do use them. So to wrap up, don't be shy. There's nothing gained from being a wallflower. We've all been there before, but leave your flowers behind. Ask lots of questions. I am told repeatedly, there is no such thing as a silly question, and if there is, I'm usually asking it, so you're not alone. But this really is your day. We're so lucky to have this many employers in the other room at the same time. It really is industry collaboration at its best. There's a huge wealth of knowledge and information all in one place, so please do take advantage of it. And remember, this is two-way. The more you interact with our employers, the more you will benefit from the day. This day is yours, so engage and get as much information as you can. We'll be testing you at the end. But more importantly, please do enjoy. And remember, these employers are here to employ you. One last thing, if you do want to take part in the the stadium tour at 1600, we can make that happen for you for £18. Just let us know. Thank you.
Just make one point, and you may already know this, but it's not been brought out today, that BuildForce are funded by the industry. There's no charge to us as employers, as if I went to an employment agency, they would charge me to recruit you. So there's no charge to us, but we choose to join BuildForce as an employer, as do VINCI and lots of others. You know, and we pay a subscription for that to be able to meet you and talk with you, you know, and for a lot of us, give something back. But most importantly, there is no charge to you. All of that 5-star service that Caroline has just done, that comes completely free of charge. And so please do not hesitate for 1 second to exploit everything that Caroline has offered up as part of the 5-star service.
Thank you, Gary, I appreciate that. And thank you, Caroline, for tirelessly arranging it today and for all you do for our service leavers, our veterans, and for our employers. So you are incredible, and I don't use that word lightly, so thank you very much. And to our incredible team of Kathleen, Alex, Randa, Jessica and Bernie, who are in the audience, thank you for all you do as well. We really appreciate it. And to your spouses who were feeding kids and doing the school run this morning, so stressed to the nines, but they all did it and they coped just fine. So thank you to them as well. We're going to pass over to Josh Pike, our success story.
I'll stay here. Good morning, everyone. My name's Josh Pike. I now work for VINCI Facilities, specifically on the FDIS contract, looking after Hyde Park Barracks cluster, so Hyde Park Barracks, Regent Park Barracks, and the Royal College of Defence Studies at Seaford House, as well as others. So I did 11 years in the infantry, specifically 1 Royal Anglian. I got to a crossroads in my career where I just finished a posting at the infantry training centre, and in my head I ultimately had pretty much 2 options. I was going to stay in the infantry and move on, go into the seniors, into the sergeant's mess, or take the opportunity to move away into civilian employment, and ultimately I choose the latter. So in terms of, I'll just go over a bit of advice in terms of my resettlement. So I joined the army pretty much straight from school, so I had essentially no understanding of civilian employment and how things work. So my first bit of advice, and ultimately you've already taken that because you're here in the room, is to plan early. Naively, probably down to ignorance, I thought I'll do my resettlement courses first, and then I will look for a job. I think really they need to be done concurrently. So I found myself sweating towards the end of my resettlement, thinking I need to pay the bills. So, but you're all here now, so you've taken that into account and you're going to plan early. So that would be my first bit of advice. Networking, again, people have talked about it already in terms of networking. I personally was not too comfortable with networking. I felt like I was asking people for help. But everyone in this room is really fortunate in a sense that as soon as you leave the military, you are part of a sort of military family, and people are absolutely more than happy to help each other out. So don't feel like you're asking for help. People are more than happy to do it. So these events are perfect. Ask people for help, advice, whatever it may be. And when you are networking, be proactive, chase leads up. I think it's quite natural for people in the military they're used to getting told what to do. A lot of the time they may not have to think for themselves. So be proactive, chase up leads, send that email, make that call, whatever it is, because ultimately that could be the call or the email that could secure you an opportunity as a career or a job. IT, This is quite a big one for me. There's a running joke in the office how bad my IT skills are for someone my age. As an infantry section commander, I've never seen an Excel spreadsheet. I don't know how it works. I now half know what it works. Apparently you can do formulas and everything. I've seen the men from the guy with the hangover where there's just equations behind it. That's me in the office on most days when I'm working with spreadsheets. And then things like, see obviously Andrew and Caroline here have all got tablets and there's PowerPoints and stuff, old school crib cards. Yeah, so things like standard learning credits, they're ideal for using things like potentially Microsoft course, etc. So embrace that world because it is very much part of that world. You need to enjoy resettlement. Very rarely are you going to get another. Again, I don't know how much resettlement. I'm sure it sort of varies for people in the room, but it's a real opportunity to get a good amount of leave. You're probably not going to get that amount of leave for the next until you retire. So enjoy it. Enjoy the challenge. Get your stuff done early. Things like courses, using your enhanced learning credits. Yeah. So you say enjoy it. And then the final one, in terms of advice, is just to back yourself. People in the speakers have already talked about the ample amount of transferable skills that everyone's got. That is genuinely true. It's not a cliche. It's not what people are just saying. There are so many transferable skills that employers are actively seeking. So back yourself. Have the confidence to project yourself because people are looking for that skill set. Just a little bit in terms of sort of life on the other side. For me personally, it's worked out great. I'm happier than when I've ever been. The grass is greener in this instant. In terms of workload, so again, there's various sort of people and ranks within this room. But for me, as a sort of infantry section commander, sports afternoons, that doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. Late starts on a Mondays and early starts finishes on a Friday. That doesn't happen anymore. So the workload is probably more consistent and all in all that much heavier. However, I don't have to go away on ops anymore and go away to Kenya or whatever it may be for 6 weeks and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it evens itself out. My work-life balance now is a lot better. Again, I'm not being told at a drop of a hat that I'm going somewhere for 6 months and have to consolidate my angry wife. So the work-life balance is generally a lot better if you manage it yourselves. Again, and that comes with sort of things like holidays. I can plan my life now. I went on holiday in March this year. I didn't have to ask anyone for permission. I put it on leave, and I didn't have to worry that I'd get called in and have to cancel my flights. I actually didn't get travel insurance at all, which was quite refreshing. Things like hidden costs, again, not to insult anyone's intelligence, maybe there's some younger people within the audience. I call it civvy tax. So things like paying for a dentist. Yeah, so bear that in mind when you are leaving. Things like electricity, I now actively go around my house and turn the lights off. Whereas in the like that, yeah, but that's changed. So just bear that in mind when you are leaving. And then the final thing is a quick plug is the Army Reserve. Again, I know there's going to be a lot of people in a lot of different situations. Some people might want a clean break, some people might be leaving for a medical discharge or whatever it may be, but if you're not in that category, I highly recommend the reserves. I've joined the reserves. A is a bit of a stopgap. It was a bit of a comfort blanket when I was transitioning from military to civilian employment. But B, you're still surrounded by people, like-minded people who have been through the same thing. For myself in the Royal Anglian Regiment, it was a family local unit. So I'm now sort of meeting up with people I've known for years. So if that does appeal to you and it's something you would consider, I would recommend the reserves. But ultimately, that's me. Thanks, guys.